Welcome to the Health Channel, all health all the time. I'm Olga Maria Villaverde, coming to you from the Baptist Health South Florida studios. And joining us today to discuss youth strength and conditioning is Micah Kurtz, strength, conditioning, and athletic development coach at the Athlete Maker. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Honored to be on for sure.
I'm so happy you're here. You came all the way down from Orlando to be with us here on the Health Channel.
Sure.
So nice to have you make that effort for us. We've got a great hour planned with Micah. Before we talk about, which we have so much, middle-aged students, athletes, high school age athletes, so much to cover here. First, tell about yourself, how you got involved in this. You were also into athletes as well, right? Sports?
Yeah, so I grew up playing 3 sports.
Really?
Some of my, obviously.
Which ones?
Football, basketball, and baseball.
Okay, you covered the best 3.
Yeah, exactly. And,
your favorite?
My favorite was basketball, but I was best at football for sure. So I grew up playing all 3 sports, loved them. Obviously, like many kids, had dreams of playing pro sports, but at a very young age, probably like 10th grade or 11th grade, I knew that I'm not going to be a pro athlete, but I knew I wanted to stay involved in strength and conditioning, or stay involved in sports. And some of my biggest mentors were my sports coaches, and originally thought I wanted to follow. They were my PE teachers and coached me in my sport, and thought I wanted to stay involved and follow in their footsteps as a PE teacher and coach. But then fell in love with strength and conditioning, and my career has evolved. And now for the past 11 years, I've been a strength and conditioning coach at the high school level, which I really feel is the best level to be at for sure.
Kids are hungry. They're really going for it.
The impact that you can have is tremendous.
It's huge, especially if you're a good role model for them. And that's what we want to talk about, finding that good coach that leads the correct way. You've used the word strength and conditioning a lot. Can you define that for me?
Yeah, so it's all terms athletic development. So getting an athlete to move well, have good mobility, good stability, gain strength, and then obviously we want to get them ready for the demands of whatever sport they're playing. So be able to move fast, linearly, laterally, and then obviously the endurance demands of whatever sport they're playing as well.
All right, and there are a lot of programming considerations when it comes to middle school and high school. What exactly are those as we look at these fabulous teenagers who probably want to be right there with Brady in the, in the Super Bowl one day?
Yeah. So what goes into my programming is we really have 5 core values to our program. And number 1 is we want to protect the athlete.
Very important.
Everything that we do in our programming is to protect them from getting injured in the sport that they play. And then obviously we want to protect them from getting injured in the weight room for sure. And then according to the sport they play, there can be different demands according to the demands of their sport. So we want to try and counteract those demands through what we do in our strength and conditioning program. So number 1 is protect the athlete. And number 2 is we want them to move well, especially working with youth athletes. We really want to focus on teaching them good fundamental movement patterns, good mobility, good stability, having them understand how to control their body and move well.
It makes a difference.
Before loading them, for sure.
Exactly.
So, and that's especially talking at the youth level. We really want to get them to have those good fundamental movement patterns and be able to control their body. And then number 3, what you think of when you think of strength and conditioning is we want them to move strong, and we want them to get stronger. And especially at the high school level, if they get stronger, that's going to correlate to improved performance in any sport they play, whether it's golf, whether it's soccer, whether it's football, baseball, basketball. If they get stronger, it's going to improve their athleticism. And number 4, we want them to move fast. So we're always going to incorporate some type of linear speed, straight line speed development, and then change of direction, reactive ability. And then last, but definitely not least, is we want to use the strength and conditioning platform working with these kids to teach them how to thrive. I think there's no better place to teach kids how to be successful in life than through going through a strength and conditioning program. And it's not just about getting bigger, faster, stronger, reducing injuries. It's about teaching them. We talk a lot about embracing the process of becoming the best at getting better. And if they learn that by every time they come in the weight room and get a little bit better each day, over time there's going to be great results, and they can take that to every area of life.
I agree. I think it's a life lesson for everything.
Exactly.
What is on the field can be applied to everyday life and the future.
For
There,
sure.
I agree. Or even on a stage. Anything you do, I think you learn and you take it, and it's to your advantage for the future. So when should an athlete start strength training? Because a lot of parents always say, well, it's a little bit too early. What is your take on that?
That's a great question, and that's a question that I get, especially being at the high school and then also working with middle school athletes that I get all the time. And really, there's no one answer to that. I mean, what is strength training? Strength training is performing an exercise with some type of resistance with the goal of getting stronger, increasing muscle size. And so that can be squatting, working out with a barbell, working out with dumbbells, working out with a med ball, or just using your own body weight. So
you're not just talking weights.
You're not.
And
so
the gym and pumping and pumping and pumping.
That's what people think of when they think
right.
of strength training and say, hey, my kid's 12 years old. He's not coming to the weight room.
Kid.
But he can learn, like we talked about before, proper fundamental movement patterns, getting in a proper body weight squat, doing a proper lunge, doing a proper hip hinge, proper push-up, proper pull-up, and learning those movement patterns. And then as they progress and understand how to control their body, they're going to have great movement patterns, and they're also going to get stronger. And then when they come, really, we start our athletes in the weight room at the end of their 8th grade year. But if they've been doing that for those fundamental movement patterns from 5th, 6th, 7th grade, when they show up in 8th grade and have great body control and can control their body and have developed some strength just from body weight exercises, hopefully they're going to be that much more advanced than somebody that's weighted.
All right, I have a couple of follow-up questions there, but before I do that, I want to show our viewers our phone number in case you want to call in and ask a question or two to Micah, 855-796-4475. We would certainly love to hear from you. Okay, so let's say, as a mom, my first question would be, well, do you train them? Do you target them differently if it's a female versus a male? You know, because the maturation is different?
Exactly.
When it comes to
training? I mean, that's a great question. And really, the maturation process can be different, but it's also one male is going to mature at a different level than another male.
That was my other question regarding puberty and the changes.
So, I mean, I think that designing a workout program for the middle school and for the high school level is one of the most challenging levels of any level. I'll put it up against college programming or professional programming because, again, like we mentioned, one 13-year-old's not going to be at the same developmental level as another 13-year-old. So we really have to take into a variety of factors. So we take in their birth age, their developmental level, their movement competency,
body composition,
their relative strength levels, their body composition, and then also like their training age and their trust factor. Like if they've been training with me for 2 or 3 years, they're going to be much more advanced than somebody that hasn't been with me, that is just showing up with me. And it could be that one that just showed up could be a much more advanced, skilled athlete, but they might not be as advanced as far as movement competency and relative strength level and understanding how to control their body. So you have to use a variety of factors to meet each individual student and each individual athlete where they are, especially at the youth level.
Exactly, and meeting them is also, to me, very personal because everybody can be different in terms of, you know, their potential. Before we talk about that, I do want to take a caller. We have Toby from Georgia. Toby, hey, how are you?
I'm great.
Fantastic. What's your question, dear?
I'd like to know what Coach Kurtz thinks makes his program special.
Great question, because we hear a lot of programs, and you always wonder why this one. Take it away.
That's a good question, Toby. And so I think the number one thing with my program is one of my best attributes, something that I'm most proud of, is that I have the ability to develop a trustworthy relationship with all of my athletes, whether it's a 12-year-old girl or 18-year-old guy, whether they're coming from different socioeconomic backgrounds. I want to find out what makes them tick. I want to develop that relationship with them. I want them to trust me, and then once they trust me and they understand that I have their best interests in mind, then they're gonna fully buy into our program, and they're gonna do anything that I ask of them. And so that's one of my biggest things that I'm proud of, is that I want to develop that honest, trustworthy relationship with all of my students and all of my athletes, so that they know that I'm here 100% to maximize their potential in all areas of life.
That's fantastic. Toby, thank you so much for calling in from Georgia. And that was actually a great question, because a lot of people say so, you know, I mean, there's just so many. Why you? Quick question also, because we have to take a quick break soon, but I hear that sometimes you have to train girls a little earlier than boys. Is there true? I mean, we have that Mars versus Venus, if you will. Here are some girls going at it, runners. Is that true that maybe girls you target a little earlier?
Well, no, not necessarily.
No.
Like we mentioned, girls can't reach. They a lot of times develop quicker. They reach puberty quicker than males. But that doesn't mean, again, if we're developing a program that meets them where they are, and really working on mobility and stability and fundamental movement patterns, that doesn't necessarily mean that girls got to start earlier than guys, because a guy can still start with body weight movements and understanding how to control their body. Females particularly could possibly be able to start strength training earlier because they develop earlier.
Quicker than boys.
But again, we want to use a slow roast philosophy.
Slow roast. I like that, like the slow cooker.
Exactly. So we don't want to progress them overly quickly. So, I mean, again, a lot of times it's slowing them down because we're in such a society where people want things immediately. And so parents and coaches want that immediately, so we just got to slow them down.
It's sometimes a crock pot situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Coming up, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about what to look for when finding strength and conditioning coaches. And you really got to find a good one. You're watching the Health Channel, All Health all the time on South Florida PBS. Have a question? Just like Toby did, there's our toll-free number, 855-796-4475. Check out our website, allhealthtv.com. 24 hours a day, it's there for you. And speaking of with you, right there on your phone, a free Health Channel app. You'll love it. Thousands of videos there just for you. We'll be right back.